Saint, the nurse they underestimated. The heat inside the medical tent was suffocating. It pressed down like a physical weight, thick with the smell of antiseptic, blood, and fear. The metallic tang of adrenaline hung in the air, a scent every combat medic knew intimately. Evangeline Saint stood in the corner, clipboard in hand, counting morphine vials. For the third time tonight. The night shift supervisor insisted on triple inventory checks. Liability issues, he'd said. Insurance protocols for contractors over 60. She was 62. At 62, apparently, you couldn't be trusted to count narcotics without supervision. At 62, you were a walking lawsuit. At 62, according to Commander Blackwell, you were supposed to be at home with grandchildren, not at a forward operating base in Afghanistan. Eva didn't have grandchildren. She didn't have children, just a flag from her husband's funeral, folded into that perfect triangle sitting on a mantel 7,000 miles away in a house that echoed with emptiness. She clicked her pen, another tally mark, moved to the next shelf. The young medics ignored her. They always did. She was invisible, just furniture. The old lady who restocked supplies and filed paperwork. The one who moved slowly, wore reading glasses on a chain, kept her gray hair in a bun so tight it looked painful. They didn't see the scars on her hands, didn't notice how her eyes tracked every movement, cataloging threats, calculating distances, assessing vulnerabilities. Didn't recognize the way she stood, weight balanced, always knowing where the exits were. They saw an old woman. Eva preferred it that way. 20 years in uniform, 20 years of jump boots and airborne wings, of midnight insertions and emergency triage under fire. Then 7 more years doing things she couldn't talk about with a unit that didn't officially exist for missions that never happened. When she'd finally retired in 2001, right after the towers fell, she'd meant it. She was done. She'd save lives without taking them, bind wounds without creating them. For 18 years, it worked. Then her husband died. Lung cancer that ate through him in 6 months, turning a Delta Force operator into a skeletal ghost. Eva had held his hand at the end, watching the monitors, knowing exactly what each declining number meant. The house got too quiet after that. The civilian hospital where she worked got too soft, too sterile, too far from anything that mattered. Drunk drivers and heart attacks and elderly patients slipping away peacefully. Important work, sure, but not urgent. Not vital, not a mission. When the contractor recruiter called, offering double pay for experienced medical personnel in Afghanistan, Eva said yes. Not for the money, for the purpose, for the feeling of being needed again. That was 6 months ago. 6 months of being treated like glass. The radio crackled. Eva's head came up, pen freezing mid-tally. Medevac inbound, ETA 4 minutes. Multiple casualties, combat injuries. The young medics scrambled. Corporal Davies, 26, moved to the trauma bay entrance. Sergeant Morrison, 32, started prepping the gurney. Lieutenant Taylor emerged from his office. 38, career medical corps, never seen real combat. He'd done his tours at Bagram, at the big bases with actual emergency rooms. Davies, Morrison, prep for receive, Taylor called. Saint, keep doing inventory. We've got this. Eva said nothing, just watched. She heard the helicopter before she saw it, the distinctive whoomp, whoomp, whoomp of rotors. The pitch changed as it descended, and Eva's body responded before her mind caught up. That old familiar tension. Something was wrong. The pitch was too aggressive, the descent too fast. This wasn't routine medevac. This was emergency extraction from a hot zone. The Black Hawk touched down hard, kicking up dust that turned the floodlights into brown fog. The side door flew open before the wheels fully settled. 4 men came off that bird. 3 were carrying the 4th. SEAL team operators. Eva recognized the look instantly. The gear, the way they moved even in crisis. The silent communication of men trained together until they could read each other's thoughts. The 4th man wasn't moving. Got a bleeder. The team leader, a chief petty officer with a face like carved granite, jumped down beside the litter. 19-year-old male, multiple GSWs to the chest and abdomen. Been compressing for 20 minutes. He's going into shock. Davies and Morrison rushed forward, Taylor behind them, pulling on gloves. Eva stayed in the corner, watching. They got the wounded soldier onto the gurney. Private from the rank on what was left of his uniform. Young. God, so young. His face was pale, lips going blue. The SEAL team had packed his wounds with quick clot, but blood was still seeping through. Taylor leaned over him, checking vitals. BP 70/40, heart rate 160, respiration shallow. Davies, large bore IV. Morrison, 2 units of O negative, now. Davies fumbled with the IV kit. His hands were shaking. Morrison ran to the blood fridge, nearly slipping. Eva's jaw tightened. The wounded soldier gasped. A wet, rattling sound Eva knew. That sound had a name. Tension pneumothorax. Air trapped in the chest cavity, crushing the lungs and heart. If they didn't decompress it, he'd code in minutes. His left lungs collapsed, Eva said quietly. No one heard her. Taylor focused on the IV line Davies couldn't thread. Morrison fumbled with the blood bags. The soldier's oxygen saturation dropped into the 80s. The SEAL chief saw it. His eyes went wide. "He's crashing!" The monitor alarm screamed. The soldier's back arched, body fighting for oxygen it couldn't get. "Bag him!" Taylor shouted. "Morrison, where's my blood?" "I'm trying, sir. The line's kinked." "His trachea's deviated," Eva said louder. "He has a tension pneumothorax. You need to needle decompress. Now." Taylor shot her a glance. "Saint, not now. Get back to inventory." Eva didn't move. She watched Davies trying to bag the soldier, but the air wasn't going in. She watched Morrison finally getting the blood bag hung, but having nowhere to run it. She watched the monitor as the heart rate climbed, the oxygen dropped, the blood pressure became barely readable. She watched a 19-year-old kid start to die. And she made a choice. Eva set down her clipboard. She pulled off her reading glasses. She walked across the tent and her stride changed. The careful, old lady shuffle disappeared. In its place was the ground-eating pace of an airborne trooper. "Excuse me," she said. Not a request. A statement. Taylor looked up. "Saint, I told you—" "Step aside, Lieutenant." Something in her voice made him hesitate. Something that didn't belong in the mouth of a 62-year-old supply clerk. Something hard and flat and absolutely certain. The SEAL chief heard it too. His eyes locked on Eva and recognition flickered. Not of her face. Of that tone. That voice. The one you heard from people who knew exactly what they were doing. Eva reached the gurney. She didn't ask permission. She simply moved, and Davies found himself stepping back without meaning to. She looked down at the soldier. His name tape read, Reed. Private Thomas Reed, 19 years old, from somewhere in America with parents who were probably asleep, not knowing their son was dying 7,000 miles away. "Private Reed," Eva said calmly. "I'm going to fix you. Stay with me." Her hands moved, not fast, not frantically, with the absolute precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times in worse conditions. She unbuttoned his uniform top. Her fingers found the second intercostal space on his left side, right at the midclavicular line, the textbook location. "I need a 14-gauge angiocath," Eva said, not asking, stating. Morrison stared at her. "What?" "14-gauge angiocath, right hand, now." The SEAL chief moved, grabbed the supplies from the cart, pressed them into Eva's palm. Eva didn't thank him. She was already in motion. Prepping the site, locating the exact spot by feel, landmarks memorized 30 years ago and never forgotten. "You can't," Taylor started. Eva inserted the needle. There was a hiss, sudden, sharp, the sound of trapped air escaping, pressure equalizing, a lung expanding. On the monitor, the oxygen saturation climbed. 82, 85, 88. Private Reed gasped, a real breath. His color started returning, the blue tint fading from his lips. Eva withdrew the needle, leaving the catheter in place, taped it down. Her hands moved to his abdomen, palpating, checking for internal bleeding. She found the IV port Davies had been fumbling with, slid the line home on the first try, cracked the saline wide open. "He's stable," Eva said, "for now. He needs surgery, real surgery, not what we can do here. Get him on the next transport to Bagram. Trauma surgeons standing by. He's got maybe 2 hours before he starts bleeding out internally." She stepped back. The tent was silent except for the beeping monitor. Steady now, strong. Morrison stared at her. Davies stared at her. Taylor stared at her. The SEAL chief looked at Eva with an expression she recognized, the look of a professional recognizing another professional. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. Eva picked up her reading glasses, put them back on, retrieved her clipboard. "Just a nurse," she said. She walked back to her corner, back to counting morphine vials, back to being invisible. But behind her she felt their eyes, watching, wondering. The SEAL chief pulled Taylor aside. Eva heard the murmur of conversation, heard Taylor's defensive tone, the chief's hard questions. "That woman just saved my operator's life. Who is she? Why is she doing inventory? She's a contractor, supply management. She overstepped her authority. I'll be filing a report. You'll be filing a thank you. That's what you'll be filing." Eva kept her back to them, kept counting. 800 milligrams. Check. Move to the next box. Private Reed was loaded onto the transport 20 minutes later. As they wheeled him past, his eyes opened. He looked at Eva. "Thank you," he whispered. Eva nodded once, said nothing. The SEAL team remained, waiting for their own ride. The chief stood near the entrance, smoking a cigarette, which was technically against regulations, but nobody was going to tell a SEAL chief he couldn't smoke. He looked at Eva. She looked back. A moment of understanding passed between them, the kind that doesn't need words. Then he turned away. Eva finished her inventory at 0300 hours. She submitted the paperwork to Lieutenant Taylor, who accepted it without meeting her eyes, and clocked out. The walk back to her quarters was cold. Desert night air cut through her jacket. Above, the stars were brilliant, the same stars soldiers had looked at for thousands of years. Eva thought about Private Reed. Hoped he'd make it. Hoped the surgeons at Bagram were good. Hoped he'd go home, see his parents, live a long life. When she reached her quarters, a small concrete bunker with a cot and footlocker, there was a message taped to the door. "Commander Blackwell requests your presence at 0800 hours. Mandatory." Eva pulled the note down, crumpled it, tossed it in the trash. She knew what that meeting would be about. At 0745, Eva knocked on Commander Blackwell's office door. "Enter." The office was regulation everything. Desk, chair, framed commendations cataloging a career spent in safe positions. Blackwell had never been shot at, never done emergency triage under fire, never held someone's hand while they died. Eva stood at attention out of habit. Blackwell didn't invite her to sit, kept her standing. Power play. "Miss Saint," he began. Not Sergeant, not even Eva. Miss Saint. Formal, distant. "We need to discuss last night." "Yes, sir." "You performed a medical procedure outside your scope of practice. You interfered with Lieutenant Taylor's patient care. You created a liability situation for this medical unit." Eva said nothing. Private Reed's family could sue. The military could discipline Lieutenant Taylor for allowing an unqualified contractor to perform invasive procedures. "Do you understand the position you've put us in?" "Private Reed is alive, sir." "That's not the point." "With respect, sir, that's exactly the point." Blackwell's jaw tightened. "You're here to manage supplies, to count inventory, to do paperwork. You are not here to practice medicine. Is that clear?" "Crystal clear, sir." "I'm recommending your contract be terminated. Early retirement with full compensation package. You'll be on a transport home by end of week." There it was. Not discipline, termination. Eva had expected it, but it still hit like a punch. "May I ask why, sir?" "You're 62 years old. You're a liability. Last night proved you can't follow protocols. You're a lawsuit waiting to happen. And frankly, Miss Saint, you should be home, enjoying retirement, not out here pretending you can keep up with people half your age." Pretending. Eva had jumped out of airplanes, had treated sucking chest wounds in combat conditions, had spent 7 years in a unit so classified its members didn't officially exist, had held the line when younger, faster, stronger men had broken. Pretending. "I understand, sir," Eva said quietly. "Good. Report to processing tomorrow. They'll arrange your transport." "Yes, sir." Eva turned to leave. "Miss Saint," she paused. "You did save that young man's life. I'll give you that. But this is a young person's war now. There's no place in it for people like you." Eva looked back at him, at his soft hands, his clean uniform, his face that had never known dust and blood. "You're right, sir," she said. "This is a young person's war." She closed the door behind her. Eva walked to the communications bunker. Inside, a young private managed the secure phone lines. "I need to make a call," Eva said. "Stateside. Official business. The private barely looked up, saw an old lady, shrugged. Sign the log, 5 minutes max. Eva signed. The private handed her a phone, walked away. Eva dialed the number she'd memorized 20 years ago, a number that didn't appear in any directory. A number that connected to a desk in a building in Virginia that didn't have a public name. The phone rang 3 times. Yes? A man's voice, careful, neutral. This is Saint, Eva said quietly. I need to speak to Colonel Hayes. A pause. Saint? Evangeline Saint? Yes. Stand by. 60 seconds of silence. Then a new voice, older, harder, familiar. Eva, it's been a long time. Yes, sir. I heard about last night. Word travels. You saved one of ours. I did my job, sir. Your job was inventory management. My job has always been keeping soldiers alive. Colonel Hayes laughed without humor. They're kicking you out, aren't they? Yes, sir. Good. Eva blinked. Sir? Because I need you, and I need you without official channels watching. Private Reed, the soldier you saved, he's not just a private. He's carrying evidence, documents, proof of the biggest defense fraud case in history. $2 billion, congressional level, Pentagon level. Eva's hand tightened on the phone. Someone tried to kill him last night, in his hospital bed, after you saved him. A contractor, one of ours. We caught him, but Eva, this goes deep. Reed won't talk to anyone. He's terrified. But he asked for you, the nurse who saved him. He trusts you. What are you asking, sir? I'm asking you to protect him. Off book. No official orders, no paper trail. Just you and him. Keep him alive long enough to testify. Why me? Because you're ISA. Because you can shoot. Because you're 62 years old and nobody would ever suspect you. And because, Eva, you're the best combat medic I ever served with. If I'm going to trust anyone with this, it's you. Eva was silent. She thought about her empty house, her husband's flag, the retirement Blackwell was offering, the quiet years ahead, safe and comfortable and meaningless. She thought about Private Reed, 19 years old, fighting for something bigger than himself, about to be murdered for doing the right thing. She thought about Bosnia, about being abandoned, about watching men die because someone valued money over lives. When do I start? Eva asked. Tonight. I'll send coordinates. A safe house. Off-grid. Reed will be moved there after surgery. You'll have supplies, weapons, everything you need. And if they come for him? Then you do what you do best, Saint. You keep him breathing, by any means necessary. The line went dead. Eva went back to her quarters, opened her footlocker. At the bottom, underneath civilian clothes and her wedding photo, was a small case she hadn't opened in 20 years. Inside was a knife. A Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife, blade still sharp, handle worn from use. Next to it was a small leather wallet containing an ID card that didn't have her real name on it. Eva picked up the knife, felt its weight, its balance. She'd promised herself she was done with this life. Apparently, life had other plans. Somewhere in this base, Private Reed was recovering from surgery, unaware that people were planning his death, unaware that the old nurse who'd saved him was about to become his only protection. Ava closed the case, packed her belongings. By tonight, she'd be gone, off the books, off the grid. Evangeline Saint, supply clerk, would disappear. Saint, the ISA operator, would return. And God help anyone who got between her and her patient. The abandoned VA hospital wing smelled of decay and forgotten promises, peeling paint, flickering fluorescent lights, linoleum faded to the color of old bone. It was perfect. Ava stood in the center of what had once been a patient ward. 6 rooms branched off a central corridor. 1 entrance, 2 fire exits. Windows overlooking empty desert. Defensible. She set down her bag, checked her watch. 2,200 hours. Reed would arrive in 30 minutes. Until then, she had work. The first room became medical station. IV fluids, antibiotics, sterile dressings, painkillers, enough to run a small clinic for a week. Second room, command post. Secure satellite phone. laptop with encrypted connection, maps, emergency evacuation routes. Third room would be Reed's. She made up the bed, positioned it so he'd face the door. Soldiers slept better when they could see threats coming. The remaining rooms she prepared. Traps, not the kind that killed, the kind that warned. Fishing line across doorways, attached to cans filled with pebbles. Pressure plates from cardboard and duct tape. Simple, effective, medieval technology that worked when batteries died. In the main corridor, she positioned equipment strategically. IV pole here, wheelchair there, creating lanes of movement, funneling potential attackers into predictable paths. By the time she heard the vehicle approaching, the safe house was ready. Eva moved to the entrance, hand near her sidearm. Hayes had provided a Sig Sauer P226, the same weapon she'd carried in Bosnia. It felt like shaking hands with an old friend. The vehicle stopped. Headlights died. Two men emerged carrying a stretcher. Eva recognized Hayes immediately. 64 years old, but still moving like the ranger he'd been. Silver hair cut military short, eyes that missed nothing. The other man was younger, 30s, lean and hard, special forces. Between them, Private Reed lay on the stretcher, conscious but groggy. Bandages wrapped his torso. "Clear?" Hayes asked quietly. "Clear," Eva confirmed. They brought Reed inside. Eva directed them to the prepared room. They transferred him with practiced efficiency. Reed groaned but didn't cry out. The younger man stepped back. Hayes remained. "Eva," he said, not a greeting, an acknowledgement. "Colonel." "This is Captain Mercer, Delta. He'll be on standby if you need extraction." Mercer nodded at Eva. His eyes assessed her, seeing an old woman, clearly skeptical. Eva ignored it. She'd spent her life being underestimated. "The perimeter?" she asked Hayes. 40 kilometers from the nearest town. This facility's been abandoned 8 years. No security, no cameras, no official records. As off-grid as we could manage. Supplies? 2 weeks' worth in the vehicle. Water, food, medical, ammunition. Ammunition suggests you expect trouble. Hayes met her eyes. "I expect them to find you, eventually. The network we're dealing with has resources, money, people in every agency. They knew Reed's flight path. They knew his room number at Bagram. They'll know this location eventually." "How long do I have?" 3 days, maybe 4. Reed testifies in 72 hours via secure video conference. Get him to that point alive, and this is over. 3 days, 72 hours. Eva had held positions for longer with worse odds. Understood. Hayes reached into his jacket, pulled out a folder. Everything we know about the network. Names, connections. The primary enforcer is Richard Stone, former general. Now private contractor. He's orchestrating the hits. Eva took the folder, opened it, saw the face in the surveillance photo. Her blood turned to ice. She knew that face. The square jaw, the cold eyes, the small scar above his left eyebrow where shrapnel had cut him. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Stone, her commanding officer in Bosnia, the man who'd abandoned her unit to die. "Eva?" Hayes was watching her carefully. "You know him." It wasn't a question. "I know him," Eva said quietly. "That going to be a problem?" "No, sir. It's going to be an advantage." Hayes studied her, then nodded. "Captain Mercer will be stationed 10 kilometers out. You have a direct line on the sat phone. Any trouble, you call. We can be here in 12 minutes. "That's too long if they come heavy." "I know. That's why I called you instead of sending a security team. Because security teams have protocols, rules, oversight. You don't." He was right. "Anything else I should know?" Eva asked. "Reed's scared. He doesn't trust anyone. The man who tried to kill him at Bagram was someone he'd trained with, a teammate. That kind of betrayal breaks something in people." Eva glanced at the room where Reed lay. "I'll handle it." Hayes moved to leave, paused at the door. "Ava, Stone knows you're alive. He'll remember Bosnia. When he finds out you're protecting Reed, he'll come personally. This is going to get ugly." It was always going to get ugly. Hayes smiled without humor. "That's why I called you." He left. Mercer followed. The vehicle started. Headlights swept across the desert, then darkness. Ava was alone with her patient. She secured the entrance, triple locked, positioned a chair where she could watch both corridor and Reed's room. Then she sat and waited. Around 0200, Reed woke screaming. Ava was in his room in seconds, hand on weapon, scanning for threats. But the threat was in Reed's head. His eyes were wide, unseeing, locked on some horror only he could perceive. "They're coming," he gasped. "They're in the walls. They're—" "Private Reed," Eva's voice cut through his panic, calm, authoritative. "You're safe. Look at me. Focus on my voice." His eyes found her, wild, desperate. "Breathe with me," Eva continued. "In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. With me now." She breathed slowly, deliberately. Reed's chest hitched, trying to match her rhythm. After 3 cycles, his breathing stabilized. The wildness left his eyes, replaced by exhaustion and shame. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I shouldn't—" "Night terrors," Eva said simply. "Common after trauma, nothing to apologize for." She pulled a chair to his bedside, sat. The Sig Sauer remained in her hand, but lowered. "You saved my life," Reed said. "At the med tent. I did my job." "No." He struggled to sit up. Eva helped him. "You're the supply lady, everyone said. The old woman who counts morphine." "But you moved like you knew exactly what to do, like muscle memory." Eva said nothing. "Who are you?" Reed asked. "Really?" She considered lying, but this boy was 19, terrified, about to testify against people who would kill him without hesitation. He deserved truth. "My name is Evangeline Saint," Eva began. "I enlisted in 1981, served with the 82nd Airborne, combat medic, did tours in Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm. In 95, I was in Bosnia with a peacekeeping unit." She paused. The memories were always there, waiting. "We were ambushed. Our commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Stone, received intelligence that our position was compromised. He ordered tactical withdrawal. We were supposed to fall back as a unit. Instead, he took the vehicles and half the personnel and left." Reed's eyes widened. "8 of us were left behind. 4 died in the first hour. The rest of us held defensive position for 9 hours. I was the medic. I kept the wounded alive. And when I ran out of medical supplies, I picked up a rifle and kept the enemy away from my patients." "Jesus," Reed breathed. "We were eventually extracted. The 4 of us who survived reported what happened. Our statements went up the chain of command. They disappeared. Stone was cleared, classified as tactical decision made under duress. He got promoted. We got medals and told to forget about it." Eva's jaw tightened. "After Bosnia, I was approached by ISA, Intelligence Support Activity. They do intelligence work before Special Forces goes in. They trained me for 7 years, taught me things beyond combat medicine, how to shoot, how to move, how to kill quietly when necessary." "You were a spy." "I was a soldier who learned to operate in shadows." Reed processed this. "And Stone? The man behind all this? He's the same officer who abandoned you?" "Yes." "That's why you're here. It's personal." Eva looked at him directly. "I'm here because a 19-year-old soldier is trying to do the right thing, and powerful people want him dead for it. That's why I'm here. The fact that it's Stone makes it easier, not harder. I know how he thinks. I know his tactics. I know his weaknesses." "What are his weaknesses?" "He values himself above mission. In Bosnia, he left us because he decided his life was worth more than ours. He'll do the same now. When threatened, he won't stand and fight. He'll send others to die for him." Reed lay back. "Everyone keeps telling me I'm brave, that I'm doing the right thing. But I'm terrified. I keep thinking about Jenkins." "Jenkins?" "The guy who tried to kill me at Bagram. We went through basic together. He taught me how to tie a proper tourniquet, and then he tried to inject poison into my IV. How do you trust anyone after that?" Eva was quiet. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out a small photo worn at the edges. It showed a man in uniform, strong, smiling, 20 years old. "My husband," Eva said, "Delta Force. We met during joint training. He understood what I was, what I'd done, never judged it. When I got out, he supported my decision. When he got sick, I cared for him until the end. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm telling you this because he taught me something important. He said, you can't trust everyone, but you can find people worth trusting. The trick is knowing the difference." Reed looked at her. "How do I know you're worth trusting?" You don't. Trust isn't given, it's earned. So I'll earn it. I'll keep you alive. I'll get you to that testimony. And when this is over, you'll know. Reed nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Yes. Have you killed people? Like, directly? Not just in combat? Eva didn't flinch. Yes. Does it get easier? No, it gets harder because each one stays with you. But sometimes the choice isn't between killing and not killing. It's between letting an innocent die or stopping a threat. When you frame it that way, the choice becomes clear. I don't know if I could do that. You won't have to. That's my job. Your job is to heal, to testify, to help fix a broken system. My job is to make sure you survive long enough to do it. Reed closed his eyes. I'm tired. Then sleep. I'll be watching. Eva returned to her chair. The night deepened. Outside, wind threw sand against windows. The building creaked and settled. Eva didn't sleep. She watched. She listened. Every sound catalogued. Every shadow assessed. Around 0400, her sat phone buzzed. Encrypted text from Hayes. Stone knows. Contractors mobilizing. ETA unknown. Be ready. Eva read it twice. Deleted it. They were coming. Sooner than expected. She stood, moved through the safe house, rechecked traps, verified ammunition. The Sig Sauer held 15 rounds, 4 spare magazines, 60 rounds total. The sun rose slowly. Reed woke around 0700. Eva brought breakfast. Protein bar, water, antibiotics. How do you feel? She asked. Sore, but better. Good. Another day or two and you'll be mobile. Do we have a day or two? Eva met his eyes. Didn't lie. Probably not. They're coming. Yes. Reed swallowed hard. What do we do? You stay in this room. You don't leave unless I tell you. If shooting starts, you get under the bed. You don't play hero. Understand? But I can help. I'm trained. I'm a soldier. You're a soldier with a chest full of stitches and 2 liters less blood than you should have. You help by surviving. That's your mission. Can you do that? Reed nodded reluctantly. Good. Now I'm going to teach you something. Eva pulled the Fairbairn Sykes knife from her belt, held it up. If I fall, if they get past me, you take this knife, you hide, and if someone comes through that door who isn't me or Colonel Hayes, you put this blade into their femoral artery, right here. She indicated her inner thigh. You don't hesitate. You don't think. You just act, because hesitation will get you killed. She pressed the knife into his hand. Reed stared at it. I don't think I can. You can. When the moment comes, you'll find it in yourself. Survival isn't about being brave. It's about being willing. She left him there, holding the knife. Eva returned to the corridor, checked her watch. 0830. If Stone's people were mobilizing, they'd arrive sometime today, probably afternoon. She used the time to rest. Combat rest, not true sleep, but relaxation where her body recovered while her mind remained alert. At noon, she helped Reed to the bathroom. Small dignities mattered. When he emerged, breathing hard from effort, he said, I'm useless like this. You're healing. That's not useless. That's necessary. Back in his room, Reed sat on the bed's edge. After this, after I testify, if we survive, what happens to you? Eva considered. I don't know. Will you go back to being a supply clerk? No, that door's closed. Then what? I haven't thought that far ahead. My mom's a teacher, Reed said. High school biology. She's always saying how old textbooks have all this knowledge, but nobody reads them anymore. Everyone wants new information. But sometimes the old stuff is better, more tested, more proven. Eva smiled faintly. Your mom sounds wise. She is. She'd like you. Why? Because you're like those textbooks. Everyone underestimates you because you're old. But you've got all this knowledge, all this experience, and it works better than anything new. The sat phone buzzed. Message from Mercer. 3 vehicles spotted, 40 clicks out, heading your direction. Armed personnel. Estimate 6 to 8 hostiles. Eva's pulse didn't quicken. Instead, that old familiar calm descended. The combat calm. She typed back. Copy. Maintain position. Will advise if need extraction. She looked at Reed. They're coming. 1 hour, maybe less. His face went pale. How many? 6 to 8 professionals, and it's just you. Just me. That's suicide. Eva checked her Sig Sauer. It's Tuesday. What? In Bosnia, I held position against 30 hostiles for 9 hours. That was Thursday. Today's Tuesday. This should be easier. Reed stared at her. Then, despite everything, he laughed. Short, sharp, edged with hysteria. You're insane. I'm experienced. There's a difference. Eva moved to the window, scanned the desert. Nothing yet. She returned to Reed's room, knelt beside his bed, looked him in the eyes. Listen carefully. When they come, it's going to get loud. Gunfire, breaking glass, shouting. You stay under this bed. You don't come out until I tell you. If someone other than me finds you, you use that knife. No hesitation. Understand? Yes. Good. One more thing. If I don't make it, if they get past me, there's a sat phone in the command room. Red button. That calls Mercer. He'll extract you. Tell him everything. Don't try to be a hero. Just survive. What about you? My mission is to make sure you never need to make that call. Eva stood, checked her watch. 40 minutes. She walked through the safe house one final time, verified every trap, every position, every angle. Then she took her place in the central corridor, positioned behind an overturned gurney, and she waited. At 14:20 hours, she heard the vehicles, 3 of them, diesel engines, stopping about 200 meters out. Doors opened, closed, quiet commands, professionals. Eva's finger rested beside the trigger guard, not on it, not yet. Discipline. A shadow crossed one window, then another. They were surrounding the building, standard tactics. Eva waited. Glass shattered in the east wing. She closed her eyes, covered her ears. Even muffled, the flashbang's concussion was significant. Her traps triggered, cans clattering, a man's curse. They knew she was prepared. Footsteps, multiple, coming down the corridor. Eva sighted down the Sig Sauer. Controlled breathing, steady hands. The first contractor rounded the corner. Tactical gear, suppressed rifle. He saw her the same instant Eva fired. 2 shots, center mass. He went down. The corridor erupted. Suppressed gunfire stuttered. Bullets punched through drywall. Eva rolled right, came up behind different cover, fired twice more. Another contractor stumbled back, hit in the shoulder. They retreated, reassessing. Eva reloaded, 15 rounds expended, 45 remaining. A voice called out, male, calm. You're outnumbered, outgunned. Walk away and you live. Eva didn't respond. We're coming in. You can't stop all of us. He was right. In a straight fight, 6 against 1, she'd lose. So she wouldn't fight straight. Eva moved, quickly, silently, to the medical station, grabbed an IV bag, filled it with alcohol from the sterilization station, stuffed gauze in the opening, makeshift Molotov cocktail. Back to position. She heard them coordinating. 2 would suppress, the rest would rush. Eva waited for suppression to start. When it did, she lit the gauze. Threw the IV bag toward the east corridor. It burst on impact. Flames spread. The contractors pulled back, coughing. Smoke filled the corridor. Eva used it. Moved positions. They expected her in one place. She was 20 feet away, different angle. When they came through smoke, she was ready. 3 shots. 1 contractor down, another wounded. The third scrambled back. But they adapted. 1 went high, climbing through ceiling tile. Eva heard movement above, tracked it. When he dropped down, she was waiting. 2 shots. He fell hard. 4 down. 2 or 3 remaining. From outside, a new sound. Vehicle. Approaching fast. The remaining contractors heard it. Pull back! Pull back! They retreated. Eva pursued to the entrance. Watched them pile into one vehicle. The other 2 left behind. They peeled out, heading west. The approaching vehicle was Mercer. His truck slid to a stop. He jumped out, weapon raised. You okay? He shouted. Clear, Eva called back. 4 hostiles down. Others retreated. Mercer entered, looked at the scene. 4 contractors dead or dying. Bullet holes everywhere. Smoke. Blood. He looked at Eva, reevaluated her completely. Jesus Christ, he breathed. You did this alone? I had good positioning. Reed emerged from his room, pale, shaking. Is it over? For now, Eva said. She was bleeding from a graze on her arm. Didn't feel it yet. Adrenaline. Mercer, we need to move. They know this location. They'll come back with more. Agreed. I have a secondary location, 20 clicks south. Eva nodded, started gathering supplies. Her hands were shaking now. Just the adrenaline dump. It would pass. Reed approached her, saw the blood. You're hurt. Superficial. Let me. He took her arm, cleaned the wound with steady hands, applied pressure bandage. The student helping the teacher. You did good, Eva said quietly, staying down, following orders. I was terrified. Fear is healthy. It keeps you alive. Mercer loaded the truck. Eva did a final sweep. In one room, she found something that made her blood run cold. A photograph, pinned to the wall. Recent surveillance shot. Of her. Walking across the base in Afghanistan. Written below in red marker. Saint. Finally. Stone knew. Not just that she was protecting Reed, but who she was. He remembered. And he was coming for her personally. Eva took the photo, showed Mercer. This changes things, he said grimly. No, Eva replied. This clarifies things. They drove south. The abandoned VA hospital burned behind them, smoke rising into the afternoon sky. Round 1 was over. Eva had won. But she knew Stone. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. The secondary safe house was worse than the first. A concrete bunker, half buried in desert sand, built during the Cold War when America feared Soviet missiles and prepared for the end of the world. The entrance was a rusted steel door that groaned when Mercer forced it open. But it was defensible. One entrance. Concrete walls 3 feet thick. No windows. A tomb, but tombs were hard to break into. Eva helped Reed down narrow stairs. He was exhausted, face gray with pain. They reached the bottom. The bunker opened into a single large room, maybe 30 feet square. Ancient cots lined one wall, chemical toilet in the corner. Battery-powered lanterns cast weak yellow light. Mercer activated a portable generator. Lights flickered on. It's not the Ritz, Mercer said, but it's off every grid that exists. No records, no satellite imaging. Built by a contractor who died in '98. Eva scanned the space. Supplies? Food and water for a week. Medical kit, ammunition. Sat phone has a booster. Defense positions? You're looking at it. One door. You hold that door, you hold the bunker. Eva nodded slowly. Terrible tactical position in some ways. Trapped, no retreat. But in other ways, ideal. They couldn't be flanked. Couldn't be surrounded. Just one killing field. How long until Reed testifies? Eva asked. Mercer checked his watch. 60 hours. 2.5 days. The video conference is set up. Secure. Multiple members of Congress watching. Once Reed goes on record, Stone's entire network collapses. Stone knows that. He'll throw everything at us. How many contractors does he have access to? Eva thought about the intelligence. At least 20, maybe 30. Former Special Forces, SEALs, Rangers, all for sale. Against you and me. Against me. Your extraction only. If this goes wrong, you get Reed out. That's the mission. Mercer bristled. I'm Delta. I can fight. I know, but someone has to survive to testify. That someone is Reed. You're his insurance policy. Mercer didn't like it, but he understood. He nodded curtly. I'll be topside, watching approaches. Any vehicles come within 5 clicks, you'll know. He left. The bunker door clanged shut. Eva and Reed were alone. Eva set Reed up on the most stable cot, changed his bandages. The surgical site looked clean, no infection. She gave him antibiotics, water, protein bar. How's the pain? Manageable. Tell me if it gets worse. Reed ate slowly. You're hurt too. Your arm. Graze, already bandaged. Let me check it. Eva realized he needed this, needed to feel useful. She sat, extended her arm. Reed unwrapped the bandage. The wound was clean, through and through. He cleaned it again, applied fresh gauze. You were lucky, he said. Luck is preparation meeting opportunity. Reed finished, sat back. Can I ask you about Bosnia? About what really happened? Eva was quiet for a long moment. The memories were always there. What do you want to know? Why did Stone leave you? What was so important? Eva stood, paced to the far wall, touched the cold concrete. We were part of the peacekeeping mission, NATO. The war was technically over, but there were still pockets of fighting. Our unit was tasked with protecting a civilian convoy, refugees trying to get to safe zones. She turned back to Reed. We set up in a small village, good sight lines, defensible. The convoy was supposed to arrive at dawn, but at 0300 hours we got hit. Mortars first, then small arms fire. At least 40 hostiles, well coordinated. Reed listened intently. Stone was our CO, lieutenant colonel, career officer, ambitious. He assessed the situation and made a call. He took half the unit, all the vehicles, and pulled back to a defensive position 3 kilometers away. Said he was establishing a fire base to provide covering fire. Eva's jaw tightened. But he never came back, never provided covering fire. He radioed in that the situation was untenable, that we'd been overrun, that there were no survivors. Then he turned off his radio. Jesus Christ! 8 of us were left behind. 4 died in the first 2 hours. The rest of us held that village for 9 hours. I kept the wounded alive, and when the wounded couldn't fight anymore, I fought for them. Her voice was flat, but underneath Reed heard the emotion, the rage, the grief. The refugees arrived at 0700, right on schedule. If we hadn't held that village, they'd have driven straight into the ambush. 300 civilians, women, children. They'd have been slaughtered. But you held. We held. NATO reinforcements arrived at noon. By then, the hostiles had pulled back. We'd won, at the cost of 4 American lives and a dozen wounded. And Stone? Stone returned with the reinforcements, claimed he'd made a tactical decision, that holding 2 positions was better than losing 1, that he'd saved lives by preserving half the unit. Eva's hands clenched. He got a commendation. The rest of us got medals and non-disclosure agreements. They buried the truth because a scandal would have damaged NATO unity, would have undermined the peacekeeping mission. That's insane. That's the military. Sometimes the mission is bigger than justice. Reed shook his head. But you didn't forget. You never forget watching your brothers die because someone valued their career over your lives. Is that why you left? Why you retired? Eva nodded slowly. After Bosnia, I couldn't trust the system anymore. When ISA recruited me, I saw it as a way to operate outside normal channels, to do the right thing without politics getting in the way. But even that got corrupted. She sat back down. In 2001, after 9/11, I was done. I'd seen enough, done enough. I wanted to save lives without killing. So I became a civilian nurse, met my husband, had 20 years of something close to normal. And now you're back. Now I'm back. Because a 19-year-old kid is trying to do the right thing. And the same man who abandoned me in Bosnia is trying to kill him for it. I believe most people in uniform are trying to do good. But I also know that power corrupts, money corrupts, and sometimes the only way to fight corruption is to stand alone and hold the line. That's what you're doing now. That's what we're doing now. You're holding the line too, Reed, by testifying, by not backing down. Reed looked at his hands, young hands. He'd been a soldier for less than 2 years. I'm scared, he admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. What if I freeze? What if I get to that video conference and I can't do it? You won't freeze. How do you know? Because you're still here. Because you could have run, could have taken immunity and disappeared. But you didn't. You chose to fight. That's not something someone who freezes does. Reed nodded. Get some rest, Eva said. I'll take first watch. Reed lay back. Within minutes, exhaustion claimed him. Eva sat in the shadows, the Sig Sauer in her lap, listening. Hours passed. Mercer checked in every 4 hours. No movement, no vehicles. But Eva knew better. Stone wasn't rushing. He was planning. At 0200 hours, the sat phone buzzed. Eva answered immediately. Saint. Hayes' voice, tense. Sir? We have a problem. Stone isn't just sending contractors. He's gotten support from someone inside the Pentagon. Someone high enough to access military resources. Eva's blood chilled. What kind of resources? A drone. Reaper class. Reassigned from its patrol route. We think Stone is going to use it to level your position. When? Best estimate? 18 hours. Maybe less. Eva calculated. 18 hours. Reed testified in 60. If the drone strike came early, they'd never make it. Can you intercept? Working on it, but Saint, even if we ground the drone, Stone will come himself. He can't let Reed testify. This is existential for him. Let him come. Eva. Hayes' voice softened. You don't have to do this. We can move Reed again. And how long until Stone finds that location? How many times can we run? Silence. This ends here, Eva continued. Stone comes, I stop him. Reed testifies, it's clean. It's suicide. It's necessary. Hayes was quiet. You always were the most stubborn operator I ever worked with. Stubborn gets the job done. I'll do what I can about the drone, but Eva, if I can't stop it, you have 20 hours. Use them wisely. The line went dead. Eva set down the phone, looked at Reed sleeping. 20 hours. 48 until testimony. She stood, began preparing. If a drone was coming, the bunker would be useless. Concrete wouldn't stop a Hellfire missile. They'd be vaporized, which meant they couldn't be in the bunker when the strike came. Eva climbed the stairs, pushed open the steel door. Outside, the night was crystal clear, stars like diamonds. Mercer was positioned 50 yards away, prone behind a low rise. He heard Eva approach, turned his weapon, then relaxed.
Trouble? He asked quietly.
Drone strike, maybe 18 hours. Mercer swore. Can Hayes stop it? He's trying, but we need to assume it's coming. Then we move Reed. No, we use it. Mercer stared at her. Use a drone strike? Are you insane? Stone wants us dead before Reed testifies. If he sends a drone, he'll think we're eliminated. He'll confirm the kill personally, which means he'll come here. To check the rubble. Exactly. And when he does, we'll be waiting. Understanding dawned. You want to fake our deaths. Not fake. We need to make him believe, which means we need to be gone before the strike, but leave evidence we were here. How? Eva thought. Blood. Reed's blood. My blood. Enough that forensics would confirm casualties. We draw it now, store it, leave it in the bunker before we evacuate. That's insane. That's the mission. Mercer considered, then nodded. Where do we go? Not far. Close enough to return quickly. There's a cave system 2 kilometers north. Natural formation. Deep enough to shield from the blast. We move Reed there, wait for the strike, then return. And when Stone comes to confirm, then we end this. They returned to the bunker. Eva woke Reed, explained the situation. You want to use me as bait, he said, pale. I want to use the situation to our advantage. Stone thinks he's winning, thinks he's about to eliminate us. We let him think that. Then we turn it around. This is crazy. This is war. Crazy is standard operating procedure. Eva prepared the blood draws, 2 units from herself, 1 from Reed despite his protests, stored them in sterile bags. They spent the next 6 hours preparing the deception. Eva scattered their belongings throughout the bunker, made it look lived in, occupied. She positioned the blood bags where they'd break during the explosion, creating spatter patterns consistent with casualties. Mercer scouted the cave system, found a deep cavern 40 feet below ground level, safe from the blast. Cold, dark, perfect. At dawn, they moved Reed. The walk was agonizing. 2 kilometers over rough terrain with a chest full of stitches. But he didn't complain, just gritted his teeth and kept moving. They settled into the cave. Mercer set up a portable heater, minimal light. Now they waited. Hours crawled past. Reed slept fitfully. Eva remained awake. Mercer was positioned outside, hidden in rocks, watching the bunker through binoculars. At 1400 hours, Mercer's voice crackled over the radio. Drone inbound, high altitude, circling. Eva's pulse remained steady. Acknowledged. She moved deeper into the cave, touched Reed's shoulder. He woke immediately, hand going to the knife. "It's happening," Eva said quietly. They waited. The drone would be doing reconnaissance, thermal imaging, looking for heat signatures, finding the generator still running. Then it would strike. The explosion when it came was massive. Even 2 kilometers away, even 40 feet underground, they felt it. The cave shook, dust rained from the ceiling, a sound like the earth splitting open. Reed covered his head. Eva remained still, counting seconds. One explosion. That was a Hellfire missile. The bunker would be rubble. Silence returned. Mercer's voice shaken. "Direct hit. The bunker's gone. Nothing but a crater." "Any secondary surveillance?" Eva asked. "Drones making another pass, taking imagery. Thermals coming back negative. No heat signatures except residual fire." "Good. How long until Stone arrives?" "If he's coming, I'd estimate 2 hours. He'll want to confirm, but not immediately." Eva checked her watch. 1600 hours. 44 hours until Reed's testimony, if they survive the next 2 hours. "Reed, stay here," Eva ordered. "Mercer, pull back. Observation only. If this goes wrong, you extract Reed. Understood?" "Eva, you can't face Stone alone." "I'm not facing Stone. I'm facing a man who's been running scared for 30 years. There's a difference." She climbed out of the cave. The afternoon sun was blinding. In the distance, smoke rose from where the bunker had been. Eva made her way back, circling wide, approaching from the north. She found a position in the rocks overlooking the crater. Good sightlines. Cover. She settled in, checked the Sig Sauer. 15 rounds, 2 spare magazines, 45 rounds total. It would be enough. Time stretched. The sun moved across the sky. At 1800 hours, she heard vehicles, 3 of them, SUVs with tinted windows. They stopped 100 yards from the crater. Men emerged. 8 contractors, professional, weapons ready. And then he stepped out. General Richard Stone. Eva saw him through her sights. 62 years old, same as her. But he'd aged differently. Soft. Comfortable. The face of a man who'd spent decades behind desks. He walked to the crater's edge, looked down at the destruction, nodded in satisfaction. One of the contractors handed him a tablet. Stone examined it. Thermal imagery, probably. Confirmation of no survivors. He smiled. Eva's finger moved to the trigger. 1 shot. She could end this now. But she hesitated. Killing Stone from distance, killing him without him knowing who did it, felt wrong. He needed to know. Eva stood, stepped out from cover. "Hello, Richard," she called. Every weapon swung toward her. 8 contractors, 8 rifles, all pointed at her chest. Stone froze, turned slowly. His face went pale. "Evangeline?" "In the flesh. Surprised?" "You're dead. The drone killed Shadows. We were never in that bunker when it hit." Stone's shock turned to fear, then calculation. "You can't win this. 8 against 1. 6 against 1, Eva corrected. "I killed 2 of your contractors at the first safe house. Or did you forget? Even 6 against 1. You're outnumbered. I'm experienced. There's a difference." Stone studied her. He recognized the look in her eyes. The same look from Bosnia. Determined. Unbreakable. "I should have made sure you died in Bosnia," Stone said. "Yes, you should have. This is personal for you." "Everything is personal. You just never learned that." Stone gestured to his contractors. "Take her." They moved, professional, spreading out. Eva dove back into cover as the first shots rang out. Bullets sparked off rocks. She came up firing. 2 shots. 1 contractor down. She moved. fluid, using terrain. These men were good, but she'd been fighting in mountains and deserts since before they were born. Another burst, another contractor wounded, falling back. But they adapted, began to pin her down with suppressive fire. A grenade arced through the air. Eva saw it, rolled left. The explosion tore apart the rocks where she'd been seconds before. Her ears rang, vision blurred, but she kept moving. She circled, came up behind their formation. 3 shots. 2 contractors down. 4 left, plus Stone. But her magazine was empty. She dropped it, slammed in her last one. 15 rounds remaining. The contractors realized she'd flanked them, turned. Eva was already moving. She fired on the move, controlled pairs. 2 shots, assess, move, 2 shots. Another contractor fell, 3 left. But they had her pinned now, real pinned. She was behind a boulder with no clear exit. They were advancing. This was bad. Then gunfire erupted from a different direction. Mercer. He disobeyed orders, come to help. 2 contractors went down. 1 remaining, plus Stone. The last contractor made a choice. Ran. Simply turned and sprinted for the vehicles. Stone stood alone. Pulled his own sidearm. A shiny officer's pistol. Probably never been fired. "It's over, Richard," Eva called. "Nothing's over until Reed is dead." Reed testifies in 44 hours. Your entire network collapses. This is done. Then I'll kill him after he testifies. No, you won't. Eva stepped out from cover. Stone aimed at her. His hand was shaking. "Shoot me," Eva said calmly. "Go ahead. You abandoned us in Bosnia. You left us to die. Now's your chance to finish the job." Stone's finger tightened on the trigger, but he didn't fire. "You can't do it," Eva said, "because you're not a soldier. You never were. You were a politician in uniform. You made decisions from safety and sent others to die, but you never pulled the trigger yourself. I did what was necessary. You did what was profitable. $2 billion, Richard. That's what this is about. You've been stealing from the military for 15 years, and when Private Reed found evidence, you tried to kill him. He's a nobody, a private. He doesn't matter. He matters more than you ever will." Stone's hand was shaking violently. Sweat poured down his face. "You're going to prison," Eva continued. "Federal. Maximum security. You'll spend the rest of your life in a cell. All those contracts, all that money, all that power, gone. Because you underestimated a 19-year-old kid and a 62-year-old nurse." Stone's face contorted with rage. "You should have stayed retired, you broken old woman." "I was retired. You brought me back." Stone fired. His aim was terrible. The bullet went wide by 3 feet. Ava didn't fire back. She walked forward. Stone fired again. Missed again. She kept walking. Stone fired a 3rd time. The gun clicked empty. Ava was 10 feet away now. Stone dropped the pistol, turned to run. Ava was faster. She tackled him. They went down hard. Stone fought, wildly, desperately. But Ava had 30 years of close combat training. She immobilized him easily. Knee on his spine, arm twisted behind his back. "Get off me," Stone screamed. "You can't do this. I'm a general." "You're a traitor." Eva pulled zip ties from her pocket, bound his wrists. "And you're under citizen's arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." Mercer arrived, weapon ready, saw Stone secured, nodded approvingly. "FBI's inbound," Mercer said. "Hayes called them when the drone strike was confirmed. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Eva stood, looked down at Stone. He was crying now, actual tears. 30 years, Eva said quietly. "I waited 30 years for this moment. And you know what? It's not as satisfying as I thought it would be. Because you're not worth the hate. You're just a small man who made small choices. And now you'll pay for them." She walked away, left him there in the dirt, crying, broken. Mercer fell in beside her. "You okay?" "I'm tired," Eva admitted. "So tired." "It's over now." "Not yet. Reed still has to testify." They retrieved Reed from the cave. He was pale, weak, but alive. When he saw Stone bound on the ground, his eyes widened. "You did it," Reed breathed. "You actually did it." "We did it," Eva corrected. "You were brave enough to stand up. That's what started this." FBI helicopters appeared on the horizon. They landed in a storm of dust. Agents poured out. They took Stone into custody, secured the scene. An agent approached Eva, middle-aged, female. Miss Saint, I'm Special Agent Morrison. I need to ask you some questions. Of course. You engaged multiple hostiles, killed several, used what appears to be military tactics. Can you explain your background? Eva smiled faintly. I'm a nurse. Sometimes nursing requires protecting your patients. Agent Morrison studied her, didn't believe a word, but nodded. I see. Well, Miss Saint, on behalf of the Bureau, thank you. You've helped us crack the biggest defense fraud case in history. Senator Thornwell is in custody. 12 Pentagon officials, 43 contractors. It's a clean sweep. When does Reed testify? Tomorrow, 1600 hours. Video conference. Full congressional committee. It'll be broadcast live. Eva looked at Reed. He looked terrified. He'll be ready, Eva said. They were transported to a secure FBI facility. Clean rooms, real beds, hot food. Eva slept for 4 hours. Real sleep. The first since this started. When she woke, it was dawn, the day of Reed's testimony. She found him in a conference room, being briefed by lawyers. He looked small, young, overwhelmed. When the lawyers left, Eva sat beside him. How are you feeling? Terrified. What if I forget something? What if I say the wrong thing? You tell the truth. That's all. The truth is enough. Easy for you to say. No. I'm the one who fought off 30 contractors to get you here, so don't waste it. Don't let fear stop you now. Reed looked at her, drew strength from her calm. Will you be there? During the testimony? If you want me to be. I do. Please. Then I'll be there. At 1600 hours, they entered the video conference room. Multiple screens showed congressional offices, senators, representatives, lawyers, the machinery of justice. Reed sat at the table. Eva stood behind him, out of camera view, but there. The chairman gavelled the session to order. Private Thomas Reed, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Reed's voice was shaky. I do. Then please begin. Reed took a breath, looked at the evidence folders. $2 billion of fraud. Documented. Proven. Undeniable. He began to speak. His voice strengthened as he went. He detailed the contracts, the kickbacks, the false invoicing, the weapons that were never delivered, the body armor that failed, the vehicles that broke down, all because someone had decided profit mattered more than soldiers' lives. He spoke for 2 hours. The committee listened. Silent, riveted. When he finished, the chairman spoke. Private Reed, you are a credit to your uniform. This committee commends your bravery. Your testimony will result in criminal charges against multiple officials and contractors. You've served your country well. Reed nodded, tears streaming down his face. Not from fear now, from relief. It was over. They left the conference room. Outside, Hayes was waiting. Well done, both of you, Hayes said. He looked at Eva. Though I hear you went off script a few times. I improvised. It worked. It always does with you. Hayes handed her an envelope. Your contract payment, plus a bonus, plus a formal apology from the DoD for your dismissal. Eva took it, didn't open it. And Commander Blackwell? Under investigation. Turns out he knew about the fraud, was receiving kickbacks. He'll be joining Stone in prison. Good. Hayes turned to Reed. Private, you're being reassigned. Non-combat position. Veteran Affairs Liaison. You'll help reform the system you exposed. Reed nodded. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Hayes left. Eva and Reed stood in the corridor. What now? Reed asked finally. Now you heal. You do your job. You live your life. What about you? Eva smiled. I'm going home, to my empty house, to my quiet life. You could teach, like you taught me. Combat medicine, tactics. There are people who need those skills. Eva considered. Maybe. Reed hugged her. Eva stiffened, then relaxed, returned the embrace. When they separated, Reed was smiling. If you do start teaching, let me know. I'll be your first student. Deal. Eva left the FBI facility. Outside, the sun was setting. The sky was orange and purple and gold. She walked to the parking lot, found the rental car, climbed in. For a long moment, she just sat there, hands on the wheel. About Bosnia, about Stone, about 30 years of carrying anger and grief. It was done now. Stone was in prison. The fraud was exposed. Justice, imperfect but real, had been served. Eva started the car, drove toward the airport. The house would still be empty. Her husband's flag would still be on the mantle. The silence would still be there. But maybe it wouldn't feel so heavy now. Maybe she'd proven to herself that she still mattered. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. She pulled over, read it. Miss Saint, this is Colonel Hayes. I have a proposal. The DoD wants to establish a combat medicine training program, advanced trauma care for hostile environments. They need someone to run it, someone with real experience. Interested? Call me. Eva stared at the message. A job, a purpose, a chance to teach the next generation. She thought about Reed, about the young medics she'd watched panic in that tent in Afghanistan, about all the soldiers who needed better training. She thought about her husband, what he'd say if he were here. She knew exactly what he'd say. Stop wasting time and get back to work. Eva smiled, typed a response. Colonel, I'm interested. Let's talk. She sent it, put the car back in gear, continued driving. The sun set behind her, the road stretched ahead, uncertain, full of possibility. Evangeline Saint, 62 years old, combat medic, ISA operator, widow, had spent 3 days protecting one soldier and bringing down a criminal empire. Now she'd spend the rest of her life teaching others to do the same. Because that's what experience did. It didn't fade, it didn't diminish, it accumulated, compounded, became wisdom, and wisdom, properly applied, could change the world. 3 months later, Eva stood in front of 30 young medics. The Combat Medicine Heritage Institute had opened to full enrollment, active duty, reserves, even some civilians who wanted military-grade trauma training. Reed was there too, her assistant instructor. He'd healed completely, scar tissue across his chest, badge of honor. Welcome to week 1, Eva said to the class. I'm Evangeline Saint. Most of you probably think I'm too old to teach you anything. You're wrong. Age is experience. Experience is survival. And survival is what I'm going to teach you. She walked along the front row. Some of you will see combat, some won't, but all of you will face moments where protocol fails, where everything goes wrong, where a patient is dying and you're the only thing between them and death. She paused. In those moments, your training will save lives. Not luck, not hope, training. I'm here to give you 30 years of hard-earned knowledge. Pay attention, take notes, ask questions, because the soldier you save might be your brother, your sister, yourself. The class was silent, riveted. Let's begin, Eva said. And she taught, not just medicine, but resilience, adaptability, the mental toughness required to function when everything was chaos. She taught them what the textbooks couldn't, what only experience could provide. After class, a young medic approached. Female, 22, nervous. Ma'am, can I ask you something? Of course. Is it true you fought off 30 contractors by yourself? Eva smiled. Where did you hear that? It's all over the veteran forums. They're calling you Saint, like a legend. Legends are exaggerated. I'm just a nurse who refused to let her patient die. That's what makes you a legend, ma'am. You didn't give up. The young medic left. Eva stood alone in the empty classroom. Saint. They were calling her Saint. She thought about all the soldiers she'd saved over 40 years, all the lives protected, all the battles fought. She thought about her husband, about Bosnia, about Stone rotting in federal prison. She thought about Reed, healthy now, teaching beside her. And she realized something. The last 3 months, she hadn't felt old, hadn't felt useless, hadn't felt invisible. She'd felt alive. Purpose did that. Purpose and a mission, and the knowledge that what you did mattered. Eva turned off the lights, locked the classroom, walked across the campus. Tomorrow, she'd teach again. Next week, next month, for as long as she was able. Because the world needed people who remembered, who'd been there, who knew what worked when everything else failed. The world needed experience. And Eva Saint, 62 years old, had plenty to give. She drove home to her house in Montana, no longer empty, no longer silent, filled now with purpose and plans, and the sound of her voice on phone calls with colleagues, planning curriculum, changing lives. Her husband's flag still sat on the mantle, but next to it now was a photo. Eva and Reed at the Institute's opening ceremony, both in uniform, both smiling. 2 generations, connected by crisis, bound by survival. Eva looked at that photo every night before bed, reminded herself that age was an asset, not a liability, that retirement was a choice, not a requirement, that one person, properly prepared, could change everything. She'd proven it in a bunker in Afghanistan, in a firefight in the desert, in testimony that brought down an empire of corruption. And now she'd prove it again, every day, in every classroom, with every student. Because teaching the next generation wasn't just a job, it was a mission. And for Evangeline Saint, the mission was never over. It just evolved from battlefield to classroom, from operator to instructor, from saving one life at a time to saving thousands through knowledge. That was legacy. That was victory. That was what it meant to serve. Not until you couldn't anymore, but until you found new ways to continue. Eva Saint had found her way, and she was just getting started.